Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the video. This is your boy Brogi Naric, back again, and I'm here to give you a review on Captain Marvel, which was directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, who I believe they're a couple, I'm not sure, but this was directed by those two. And this is the last movie before Avengers Endgame that focuses on the superhero Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. There's been some controversy around this film, and I'm not gonna get much into that. But is this movie worth the hype? Is this movie worth the controversy? I would say no. It's an okay movie. Nothing more, nothing less. It's fine. Which it could be a good thing if you look at it. It could be a bad thing if you look at it. But it's not. The movie's not terrible. It's competently directed. The special effects are very good. The action is very good. It's just certain story structure and acting that kind of hurts the movie to a degree, at least in my opinion. So, quick synopsis: you have this woman played by Brie Larson, known as Vers, who wakes up. She's got some memory problems, and she's on a planet. She's a part of this task force, and as she goes on this specific mission, and through the mission, she starts to realize that the things she thought she knew, she doesn't know, and certain things about her past is revealed to her, and she ends up sort of like not necessarily an end to a war, but she kind of helps protect Earth from this intergalactic war that's going on between the Kree and the Skrulls. And it also is like a history building world for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which kind of works and doesn't. So the thing with Captain Marvel, especially with this movie, is this is Marvel's first solo female superhero movie, as a way to kind of compete with Warner Brothers, who did Wonder Woman, which did very well. And this movie is, like I said, it's fine. It's not the worst movie, but it's not the best Marvel movie. Okay, let's start with people I liked in this movie. Well, there's no one I hated. There's no character that I hated in this movie, but there's definitely characters I like more than the others. Ben Mendelsohn as Talos, who is he's like a Skrull commander. He was really good in this. I was not expecting him to be as good as he was. He's a little more of a layered character. Yeah, he's much more of a layered character than you would expect. And they added something, or they focused on something. I'm not familiar with most of these characters from the comics. Captain Marvel is not the most popular character in Marvel Universe. She's not even the most popular female character in the Marvel Universe. But it was owned by Marvel, and owned by Disney now, Disney Studios. So they decided to focus on her to be their first flagship solo-led female movie. I think it should have been Black Widow, but they went with Captain Marvel. The special effects are very good in this movie. They're kind of like video gamey at certain points, but the effects on the Kree are really good. Because when I first saw the Skrulls, I was like, they don't look that great. But when you see it on film, the practical makeup is done very well. The only thing I didn't like about them is their transformations. It wasn't that great. I don't know how they would have did it differently, but the way they did it wasn't all that great. But how they, snuck in and snuck out was interesting, and the way they were designed and the certain weapons they used were pretty good too, and interesting and unique enough. The Kree were cool. I liked the what they called, the Star Force, I think it was. It was like the group that Carol worked with. It was her and Jude Law's character, who's like the commanding officer. Jude Law plays Yon-Rogg, which is kind of a spoiler if you know who Yon-Rogg is, but if you don't, then don't worry about it. And he's her commanding officer, and he's like her mentor, and they kind of have not a love-hate, they kind of have like a back and forth. When I say they, I mean him and Carol. They kind of have a sort of witty banter. It's not good witty banter, but it's there. And he's training her to be less emotional and be more fighting with your mind as opposed to fighting with your heart. I'm pretty sure there's some subtext in there somewhere. But the team looks cool, like those green uniforms. Like when they first showed those photos, some people were like, "Oh, that looks terrible." When you see it on film, though, they look sweet. There's a whole sequence at the beginning of the movie with them working as a team, which was pretty cool. Although some of the way it was filmed, there was a lot of murkiness. It was kind of hard to see some of it. Shit, I'm all over the place. Samuel Jackson is Nick Fury. They have him as a young Nick Fury, and he has the facial technology, which looks very well. Damn it, looks very good. The facial technology on him and Clark Gregg looks very good. Although Clark Gregg didn't look that much younger as opposed to what they did with Samuel Jackson. And he was cool. Nick Fury was cool. There's certain things they did with him that I liked. He was the most charming and one of the most funniest characters in the movie. Besides him and Talos, I have to say Ben Mendelsohn as Talos was very funny too. He was very charming. I was not expecting Ben Mendelsohn to be as good as he was. Annette Bening is in the movie. I'll get more on her. I can't really talk much about her, but she's in the movie. So yeah, I'm talking about everyone else. Oh, there's a cat. There's a cat named Goose, who everyone loves. Goose is cool. I'm not a cat person, so I wasn't like in love with Goose, but Goose was cool. Goose was really, really awesome. There's Lashana Lynch, who plays Maria Rambeau, who, if you don't know, is the mother of Monica Rambeau, who was the original female Captain Marvel character. And this movie is set in the 90s, and so Monica is in the movie, but she's a little girl. She's played by a young actress, 11-year-old actress, Akira Akbar, who was fine. She was alright child actress. So yeah, I'm talking about everyone else but Brie Larson. Brie Larson played Carol Danvers. She was fine. She wasn't god awful, but she just didn't really do much for me. Like, there was a lot of moments where they have her trying to be witty and funny. Some of them work, most of them for me didn't work. There's a lot of, and it's very much like the Marvel formula where there's a lot of witty banter. There's a lot of that in this movie. Most of those scenes tend to work when it was mainly Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel Jackson in them, but when it was like her and Jude Law, they didn't really work. Some of the ones with her and when they're all together, there's one scene in particular where it's like Samuel Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Maria Rambeau, and Carol Danvers, and that was really good. But like her by herself trying to be witty, it didn't really work that much. This movie was fine. Like I said, it's not the worst Marvel movie. Definitely not one of my favorites. Probably not going to remember it much after this. It didn't necessarily going to stick with me. If I had to grade it, I would give it a C or a 7 out of 10. It's okay, which is also similar to my grade with Aquaman. And now Aquaman, this is a much more competent movie than Aquaman, but Aquaman had those out there moments that really stuck with me, and which were moments from the comics that really stuck with me. As for this one, they had some good moments. The story is much better. The acting is much better, but there's certain character elements that didn't really grab me. Nothing that like really annoyed me, although there was one thing that kind of annoyed me. It involves Annette Bening, but other than that, it's an alright film. I won't necessarily say they play it safe. They get enough space stuff in there. But yeah, it's fine. If you want to check it out, go check it out. It's nothing you have to rush out for. This is a bit rambly, but this is all I can really say right now. If you want to know more, stick around for the spoiler review. So spoilers. One of my problems, not necessarily a problem, but I thought it was odd that they decided to do this. When the movie starts, the movie just starts off with it like she's like dreaming and she's having flashbacks, and then bam, Carol is on the Kree planet and she's just living her life as this woman on this alien planet. And they don't really try to explain much. I thought it was a bit odd that they played it like that. Like, I thought they would at least ease you into it, but they just really just drop you in. It's like, here's a woman, she's on a planet, there's some war going on between these two aliens you don't know shit about, and here you go, and now they're on a mission, and then she gets captured, and then they start to mess around with her head. I thought it was a bit odd. They kind of played it like she's either Superman or Batman and Spider-Man, where it's like, oh yeah, we know the origin, just get to the action. It's like, no, we don't know the origin. We don't really know who this person is. So I don't know why they did that. I thought that was a bit of an odd choice. like I said, the action is very well. The special effects are good, which is, I'm happy the special effects are good. The villains are good. Like, some people might compare this to Wonder Woman. I would say the things that this movie does better than Wonder Woman, better third act, better villains, and better special effects. But then again, there's a lot more in terms of special effects that happen in this movie. One thing that Wonder Woman does far better than this movie does is the character interactions, or at least the main character's interaction with other characters, is much better in Wonder Woman than it is here. A sense of who the character is as a person, I felt more of an idea of who Wonder Woman was as opposed to who Carol Danvers is. Because even when they do her flashbacks to her life, her whole life, she's just been some woman who's done her own thing, and she gets knocked down, but she gets back up. But there's nothing necessarily too personal that they really get into, besides she's in the military, she wants to strive to be the best, and she does things that women usually don't do. I mean, that's okay. I guess that's a character trait, but there's nothing, there's no uniqueness. Like, there's no, oh, she likes rock and roll like fucking Tony Stark, or she's not necessarily a goody two-shoe, but she's not like, I don't know. I don't know. Her character was kind of a mystery to me. I wasn't feeling it. Sam Jackson as Nick Fury was cool. He was cool, but then there's a moment when he runs into the cat Goose, and then whenever he's cool, but whenever he's around Goose, he becomes this mushy sort of, ooh, look at the kitty. I was like, it's kind of a weird take on the character. I never really saw him like that, but that's how he is in this. Annette Bening. Dr. Wendy Lawson, Dr. Wendy Lawson. They did something with her that I was expecting, but not what I was expecting at the same time. So in the Marvel Comics, with the Kree, they have a supreme leader called the Supreme Intelligence, which is this big AI combination of all the different Kree brains fused into one being, and it's like super smart, and it leads the planet. And in the movie, they leave it up to interpretation, because they're like, oh, you can't see what it really looks like, so when you connect to it, it projects the image of someone close to you. And for Verse, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, she sees Annette Bening's character, who was called Dr. Wendy Lawson, who was her mentor when she was on Earth. They worked for this special project called Pegasus. There was a combination of the NASA and the Air Force, and she's like her mentor. But basically, they took the original Captain Marvel character. So before there was Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, there was this character called Marvel in the Marvel universe, who was a man. He was an alien, Kree alien on Earth disguised. Him and Carol were close. She gets in an accident. Their bodies kind of there's like a transference, so she gains his powers, and she becomes part Kree, and then as a result, she can do similar things that he can do. In this, they make Dr. Lawson, the male the male Captain Marvel, Annette Bening's character, made her a woman, and so she was more like a mentor and a motherly figure to her, which was a different take. I don't hate it, but I don't like it at the same time, I didn't think it was all that necessary. But so they kind of just got rid of that character completely, and she plays a bigger part in the movie. The thing with the Kree and the Skrulls on Earth looking for this special hyperspace engine, because apparently in the 90s, these particular alien races did not have hyperspace yet, but there was this one scientist on Earth who at first I thought was a human. I was like, why are the aliens going to Earth for hyperspace? But then it's like, oh, she was an alien the whole time, so it made sense. She was using this special energy that was creating these that she was using for the core to create these hyperspace engines, and the Kree were trying to stop her. Well, you think it's the Skrulls that was trying to stop her, but it was actually the Kree trying to stop her, because she wanted to use the technology to end the war as opposed to help the Kree win the war between the Skrulls. They don't explain how it started, but it's like a war that's been going on for years. To cut long story short, you find out that the core, the energy from the core gave Carol her powers, but then she got a blood transfusion from Jude Law's character that makes her part Kree. So they changed the origin up a bit, which is nothing new because Carol Danvers in the comics has like various origins, various takes on the character. That's why it's kind of hard character to nail down because there's no, over the years there's been no definitive version of her. Like they had one about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and then recently before the movie came out they changed her origin again. So it jumps around. I don't know how close this was to any of those other versions. You find out that the source of the energy is the Tesseract, the cosmic cube from Captain America, and what Red Skull used in Captain America, what Loki used in Avengers, what is the Mind Stone for the Infinity Gauntlet, the blue one. Basically, she was using that energy to create the engines that would use light speed, which I thought was interesting. I didn't see that coming, but that it ties into what they've done with other Marvel movies. Goose is an alien, and that was cool when they revealed, because it's a flargon, some shit, but it's like it's got this weird tentacle mouth, and it goes Groot, and it just beats the hell out of the soldiers. Okay, so yeah, Talos, he's a lot more sympathetic because you find out the reason he was leading this mission to Earth, not just to find the energy source, but he was really trying to find his family, because they mentioned how the Kree destroyed the Skrull homeworld, which is different from the comics, because in the comics it's actually Galactus that destroys it, but in this they made it the Kree because they don't quite have the film rights to Galactus yet. We'll see if they retcon it, but so the Kree are kind of refugees spread out through the world, but yet they're still powerful enough to take on the Kree, even though they're not like a solid conglomerate. But he knew his family and other refugees were somewhere near Earth, and that was the reason why he was on Earth trying to track down the energy. He was really trying to find his family. So that was a nice not touching, but like a nice layer that they added to the character. He's not completely evil. He's not really the main villain. He's like the side villain. The main villain turns out to be the Kree Empire, which makes sense. And I thought it was odd that they decided to make the Skrulls more sympathetic, because they're usually not. Both the Kree and the Skrulls are dicks in terms of the Marvel Galactic Universe. Jamin Hansu as Karath and Lee Pace as Ronan, they were in Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were kind of lame in that movie. And so it's like, oh, well, this is them in the past. We'll get to see some more of them in the past. They do jack shit in this movie, which was kind of disappointing, but then again, it's like, yeah, you know, why was I expecting anything else? So they're pretty much useless. Things I like when Captain Marvel was using her powers, especially that part when she like breaks free from the little device on her neck that was like holding her powers back. When she breaks free from that and she goes full binary, and she's flying through space and shooting lasers. That stuff is cool, and that's yeah, that was cool. And she basically like destroys some of the Kree fleet that was about to destroy Earth, and then once they realize they don't got shit to deal with her, they like, you know what, let's just leave. We'll be back sometime later. So they dip out. And so after that, Talos is grateful that he has his family back. So he's like, well, we would like to stay on Earth, but Captain Marvel's like, hey, I can, you know, go with you and find a new planet. So basically, the reason she leaves Earth is she wants to help Talos and the other refugees to find a home planet, and she gives Nick Fury a modified beeper. This whole thing where she takes his beeper, but she modifies it, and it's like, hey, if something goes down, hit me up. And then she just leaves Earth, which was, I guess, you know, I guess that's the reason why she was gone so long. She's, I don't know, out in space. She's out in space. There's a thing, they do a thing where Nick Fury gets in an accident in his eye. He gets a scratch over his eye, and they're playing. There's a number of times where they keep talking about his eye, but then there's a moment where he's close with Goose near the end, and he gets a scratch from Goose. Goose is a fucking asshole, and they scratch him in the eye, and he's just like, oh, it's just a scratch, and then they're like, nah, it's a little worse than that. So apparently that's how Nick Fury missed his eye. He got scratched by Space Cat, which is kind of stupid, because if you watch, I just watched Winter Soldier, and he was making a whole big point. He's like, the last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye. So apparently the last time he trusted a fucking cat, that's when he lost his eye. That was lame. Oh, and there's a whole bit where Goose eats the Tesseract, and then yeah, the end credit scene is just him coughing up the Tesseract, which was lame. The other end credit before that, the one that you should stay for, is just part of Endgame, where they're in the base and they're counting down all the lives that are gone from each continent, or each country basically, and the beeper it's on this device because somehow they found it. I guess Maria Hill. Well, actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, I don't know how the hell they found that beeper, because Maria Hill died too. It wasn't like Maria Hill. I don't know. Somehow they found the fucking Captain Marvel beeper, and they've like reverse engineered to keep it powered, to keep sending out a signal. And then it stopped, and they're like, "Oh, why did it stop?" And they're like, "I don't know. It just stopped." Well, Cap's like, "Well, power it up again. Hopefully, we'll get an answer." And then they turn around, and then Captain Marvel's there, and she's like, "Where's Fury?" So that's it. And she didn't look older. Her hair was less blonde. It actually looked worse now that I think about it. It didn't look as good as it did in the movie. But her suit was a little bit different. The controversy around it was unnecessary because it wasn't anything too ridiculous. In terms of like, I mean, the feminist stuff, it's there, but it wasn't anything that bothered me. It was just okay, you know. Like I said, Wonder Woman handled that stuff far better because they had the balance of the man and the woman with Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman working together. So for this one, you do have Nick Fury there, but it's more on her side because it's not like a love thing between them. It's more like just two friends working together. So it's a little different. Sorry, movie. If you let me know if you like the movie or disagree with anything I had to say. Thanks for watching. Like the video, dislike it, comment in the comments, watch some other videos, check out the playlists and the annotations. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.
Finish this thought. I am a slave to
the booty.